Logan, I'm just kind of curious. While you were looking around on these student directories, did you come across anything interesting?
Yeah, I think everybody from every outlet had that like bookmarked on their phones or reminder to just continuously look up Destyn Hill's name. But yes, he showed up on the student directory. Nothing is official yet, but just going off of that, it just means that there's some optimistic news that we should be hearing something official getting closer to the later end of the week after this last semester just wrapped up. The other one is about to begin during the summer. And so Florida State is feeling pretty good, I think, on their end of things, knowing that he's in the student directory. And I think for a lot of fans that have been waiting almost 2 years for this, they're like, they still don't believe it. I don't think anybody's going to believe it till maybe they see him with their own two eyes, because right now nobody's going to believe maybe a photo, or it's going to have to be like a live stream or something until someone believes it, or someone that's going to say that they photoshopped it. But yeah, it's great to see that his name is in the student directory. But there's a whole, that starts a whole nother discussion of a lot of things, of how does he look, what happened type of deal. There's gonna be a lot of question marks about that, but it just depends on how deep we'll get into it. But it's a good week for Florida State fans, I think, and it could be even better later down the road. And I know we'll talk about that as well.
Hey, if he's enrolled and he's got a uniform on and he's showing up at practice, then it is interesting to be able to find out, if we ever do, what happened, what was the deal. Sure, all that's interesting, but once he's on the roster and ready to roll, that's all that counts at that point.
I think at this point, as long as he ends up in a Florida State uniform, people are going to be ecstatic, regardless of his body type or how rusty he may or may not be. But from everything that we've heard, or everything that I've heard, he's been constantly working on his craft. He hasn't fell off the table. I don't know. I didn't see him practice. I didn't see him training, but I've been told that that's what he's been doing. I just got a question for everybody. I'm going to just start this off the right way. I think that Florida State and Mike Norvell has been taking some things personal, not Colorado taking our players, but the West Seminoles or Florida State, whatever, Colorado, the Buffalo Noles and all that. What happens if Norvell does the splits and just punches Deion right between his legs and says, well, we're going to unretire the number 2 and give it to Destyn Hill?
Personally, I think it should have been unretired. I can give it to a deserving. I give it to a deserving player. If that's the difference between us getting a recruit is Deion's number, then I'm giving Deion's number away ASAP, and giving it to both sides of the ball. So, but yeah, I'm all for that.
It'll cause a lot of chaos, that's for sure. It definitely cause a lot of chaos, which I like, because that generates clicks. And there's nothing better than getting some clicks in the off season. You know that, Mark. There's nothing better than getting some good clicks. But nonetheless, this whole weekend is going to bring clicks for everybody. Like this right here, while we're talking about it, this will be clipped up and will be put as a cut up video, and it will do very well, just because Destyn Hill generates a lot of views no matter what, on articles, YouTube, everything. And it's crazy that it's done this the last 2 years. It's incredible that a player that we haven't even seen play in a uniform in garnet and gold dons this much attention from us looking at a high school kid. Well, no longer a high school kid, but back in the day, just the whole curiosity of what this kid could look like. We've got people searching the mom's Instagram, the whole family's Instagrams, their Facebooks, diving in. I'm not saying I'm one of those people. I'm not saying I'm one of those, but if you were able to have the first news of Destyn Hill and potentially arriving at Florida State, you would be the god of Twitter and all of social media. So right now, everybody's just on wait watch on if he arrives into the Moore. I'm surprised that a couple other outlets, James, don't have a full-on live stream going on. Like, we don't have a full-on booth out there right now. I'm a little disappointed that we don't have a live stream GoPro session going on, but maybe it's for the best, honestly. They get a little bit too freaky, that and going and stalking people at hotels, little too much. But yeah, we're going to see. We're playing the waiting game, baby. It's fun. It's exciting, something fun for Florida because it's also a nice addition to that wide receiver room, which it impacts quite a bit. We've talked about him, James, a long time ago about how well of a player he is and elusive, and he's a different kind of wide receiver. He's a hybrid. He's got good vision. He's got the speed. He's got a lot of characteristics of a guy back in the day with P-Dubs. So there was always excitement about this player, and that's what went into us continuously talking about him the last 2 years, no matter what.
Yeah, James, if he shows up right, Destyn Hill shows up right, physically, mentally, the whole deal, what kind of player is he from what you've seen?
I think he's the guy that we're kind of looking for as far as that explosive guy that comes in. I mean, that's kind of player he was. His highlight film was full of making plays, and I always tell kids, I'm like, it doesn't matter if you catch for 1,000 yards or 2,000 yards. It all depends on how it looks. And when you look at his highlight film, it's very entertaining. When I'm watching a highlight film, if you go catch my eye in the first 2 or 3 plays, I'm not going to pay attention to it. And his highlight film is definitely one of those in which you're caught up early and you're going to pay attention. I'm actually going to probably go back in now that it seems real. I'm going to go back and pay attention to it a little bit more. Watch it again just for my own consumption. But I don't expect much from him this year. But if he's able to get back into the swing of things, and because now with the NCAA being able to play not 4 consecutive games or like the first 4 games of the season, and then you break your red shirts, but as long as you don't play over 4 games, and I think they took away the bowl game for that as well, correct? So technically it's 5 games that a kid can play. I could see him, this year, getting a little rust in some of the games like the University of North Alabama or something like that, and then maybe next year we're excited. We're still excited about what that name could mean and potentially bring to Florida State.